Hello and welcome. For this class, we are going to be focusing all on the hips. So if you are a human, you probably have tight hips. I have yet to meet someone that doesn't have tight hips. So this video is probably great for anyone, but especially if you are holding a lot of stress in your body. Maybe you feel like you have a lot of tension, maybe you have a lot going on in your life right now. This would be a great practice to kind of help you release some of that tension. So you may feel a lot of tension in your hips throughout this practice, but the hope is that by the end, you'll feel a little bit lighter, a little bit looser, maybe a little bit less stressed as well. So wherever you're at, I invite you, if you would like, you can grab some props. They are completely optional. You may or may not want to use them at all in this practice, but I like to have them on hand just in case. So I have everything today. I have 2 blocks. If you don't have yoga blocks, you can grab a couple of thicker books. And then I also have my blankets as well. You may or may not want it for your knees or your elbows. We'll just kind of see how we go. And then I also have my yoga bolster. So if you don't have a yoga bolster, no problem. A firm pillow or 2 will work. But again, these are all just optional. So just kind of grab what you have, may or may not use them. I'm going to go ahead and set my stuff off to the side just as we start here. And if you want to join me in our first shape, we are going to be starting in a child shape. So if you're on a mat, we're going to be starting at the back of the mat today. So go ahead and join me on hands and knees. And if you are able to, just start to push your hips back. Well, actually, first thing, we're getting into our hips. So I invite you to bring your knees a little bit wider apart for this child shape today. And then slowly start to sink your hips all the way back. If they don't quite go all the way back to your heels, that's totally okay. Sometimes it's nice to put a blanket in between your seat and your heels just to kind of help elevate things, or you can even bring a block or a book or a pillow. So just kind of notice what feels good here for your child shape, and then slowly start to settle in. So allow your forehead, if it will, to nicely ground on the floor underneath you. Your arms are nice and long in front of you. Maybe take a few moments here as you settle in. Right away, let's start to focus on our breath here. So maybe you feel already some tension here. It might be hard to settle in. So can you let your exhales, every time you release your breath, can you let that sink you just a tad bit deeper wherever you are? So maybe your seat isn't quite meeting your heels. Maybe your forehead's not quite meeting the floor. But maybe with each exhale, they sink a little bit deeper. Let's just hang out here for a few more rounds of breath. Maybe you bring some awareness to your energy today. So go ahead and start to bring some awareness to the palms of your hands. If you feel like it's really hard to settle into some stillness today, maybe your mind is racing, maybe you're a little bit more anxious, maybe you ground your palms down to try to bring that energy down just a little bit. And then if you're on the opposite end of the spectrum, maybe it was really hard to get out of bed this morning, maybe you feel like you're lacking motivation, lacking energy, maybe you face your palms up here. So again, just check in with your energy. What do you need more of? What do you need less of for this practice? Maybe you're somewhere in the middle, so you face one palm down, one palm up. Maybe take about 2 or 3 more rounds of breath here. Let your breath deepen just a little bit. And then when you're ready, we're going to start to bring some movement here. So really make sure, if your palms were up, make sure that your palms are now grounded down. And on an inhale, start to push yourself up into tabletop. So you're coming up into all fours. On an exhale, start to push your chest through your arms, come forward. We're coming into this sort of cobra variation here. And hold. You may have to bring your knees a little bit closer together. You may have to reposition here like I am. Take your time here. Really push the ground away when you arrive. And if you're feeling this a lot on your knees, option to bring a blanket underneath your knees. Maybe let your head fall back if that feels okay on your neck, or you can just keep your head and neck neutral here. And we're going to take a little bit of a flow. So inhale here. On your exhale, start to push it all the way back into your child's, or back as far as your hips will go. And then inhale, come back forward again, all the way, push your chest through, maybe your gaze rises. Exhale, push it back. This time when you inhale forward, maybe you start to take a hip circle, maybe circling one direction, and then on your exhale, round that circle out. And then maybe this time when you inhale forward, take it the opposite direction, and then exhale, push it back. Option to keep taking these hip circles as you circle forward and back, or you can find a figure 8 in your hips. So if you find that figure 8, you're going to be moving your hips a little bit faster as you come forward, and then finishing that figure 8 as you move back. Take this for just maybe 2 or 3 more rounds. Finding some release of energy here. And then when you're ready, go ahead and meet me back in a tabletop. So finish out whatever round you're on. And then let's go ahead and meet in a tabletop. When you arrive, start to shake your hips side to side. If you want to take some extra hip circles here, you're welcome. Couple more rounds of breath. Maybe you get your neck involved. Awesome. Okay, you can stay exactly where you're at. I am going to transition so that I have a little bit more room. But what you're going to do is you're going to stay in tabletop here. And when you're ready, start to take your left leg out to the side. So you're going to want to straighten that out to the side. You may have to adjust, readjust here. And if it's possible, it's okay if you land on the inner edge of that right foot. But if you can ground all 4 corners of your feet, or of your left foot, maybe you do that. Just kind of notice what you need here. And then maybe just slowly start to rock back and forward, feeling that opening in your left hip here. Option to close your eyes down here, if that feels okay. And then when you're ready, again, be mindful of that right knee if you need extra padding under there. You're going to start to lift up onto your right knee. And then inhale, sweep your arms all the way up to the sky. On your exhale, take it to the left. So your left hand's going to land on your left leg. Right arm sweeps up and overhead. Maybe 1 or 2 more rounds of breath here. And then inhale back to center. Exhale, go ahead and come back into your tabletop. I'm going to transition back over here. Maybe take a couple more hip rocks side to side. And we're going to take that all to the other side. So again, you can stay where you're at. I'm going to transition so I have more room. We're going to now move on to the right foot. So you're going to bring that right leg out to the side. Try to straighten it as much as you can here. You may already be feeling this a lot. And again, it's okay if you are on the inner edge of your right foot. If it's possible, maybe you try to ground through all 4 corners. And then again, maybe you take some rocks forward and back. Option to pull it all the way back to your heel if that feels okay. Maybe you either just find a hold here, or you can keep that movement up. Again, this is your practice, so just find what works for you, what gives you that release that you need in your leg and your hip. Take about 2 more rounds of breath wherever you're at here. And then when you're ready, go ahead and, again, be mindful of your left knee. Come to stand on that left knee. Inhale, sweep your arms all the way up. Exhale, drop that right hand, land it on your right leg. Left arm comes up and overhead. Hold here. Maybe 1 or 2 more rounds of breath wherever you're at. And then inhale back to center. Exhale, drop it back down to your tabletop. I'm going to move back to my mat. Awesome. I'm going to move back a little bit just to give myself some room. We're going to start to move into a low crescent here. So on an inhale, keep your hands nice and grounded on the floor. Push the ground away. Inhale, start to sweep your right leg up and back. And then on your exhale, pull your knee to your chest all the way through until you can land your right foot between your hands. So when we're coming into this low crescent, you want to make sure that you have a nice groundedness in your right foot here. And then when you're ready, inhale, sweep your arms all the way up to the sky. Whew, exhale, settle in. This may feel like a lot. And if so, if it's too much right now, option to drop your fingertips back down to the mat just to give you a little bit of support. If you are in the full variation of this, if your arms are extended up and you feel this tightness in your lower back, maybe you just push your pelvis forward a little bit. So you're decreasing that rounding in your lower back if that doesn't feel good. Or if it feels really nice, you can just stay here. Just kind of notice, what does your body need here? Listen to your body. You want to feel some tension, you want to release that, but you don't want it to be too overwhelming here. And then when you're ready, go ahead and inhale, drop to your fingertips here, and then exhale, start to push your hips back, start to straighten through your right leg. Maybe you let your head just fall towards your leg here. We're going to take a little bit of a flow. So on an inhale, start to come back forward. Exhale, push it back. Try to straighten through that right leg as much as possible. Maybe bring those toes towards you. And then inhale, come back and forward. Exhale, push it back. 2 more times like that. Move with your own breath. Inhaling, pulling you forward. Exhaling, pushing yourself back. Let's take one more round wherever you're at. Inhale. And exhale. Awesome. This time, go ahead and inhale forward. Plant your hands. Exhale, you're moving back into that tabletop. Couple more hip rocks. And then when you're ready, well, I actually shouldn't have had you, we shouldn't have pulled our right foot back, but that's okay. We'll just go back. So go ahead and bring your right foot forward again. This time, we're going to meet in a standing forward fold. So however you get there, bring your left foot to meet your right and meet me in a forward fold here. Maybe you grab opposite elbows here if that feels a little bit more supportive for you. An option, you can find some stillness, or you can rock side to side. I really recommend that you bring your feet nice and wide apart here, just to really help support you here in this movement. If you're taking movement, let your head, neck, shoulders be really heavy towards the earth here. And then if it feels okay in your body, again, be mindful of your knees. Maybe you start to bring a little bit of a shake here. Just starting to shake through your lower body. You might feel your head bouncing, your upper body kind of moving with this shake here. Option to leave your hands where they are. Maybe they're loose towards the floor. You can really bend through your knees and straighten through your legs. Really listen to your body here. Notice what feels good. Maybe you want to take some weird, funky movement. Just kind of notice what you need. A few more rounds of breath. Feel free to sigh that exhale out. And then when you're ready, slowly start to come back to some stillness here. Start to heel toe your feet in until they're about hips width distance apart. And then let's go ahead and bend your knees generously. Inhale slowly, vertebra by vertebra. Start to stand very slowly all the way up. And then when you arrive, bring your shoulders up towards your ears. Inhale. Exhale down your back. Take a few moments here. Let your feet really ground down into the floor underneath you, the earth underneath you. Your arms are down by your sides. Maybe your palms face forward. Just a couple more rounds of breath here, taking a few moments of stillness. And then whenever you are ready, let's go ahead and inhale, sweep your arms all the way to the sky. Exhale, dive it back down to your forward fold. And then this time, you are going to keep your left foot grounded right where it's at. Inhale, start to bring your right foot behind. And exhale, we're taking that low crescent on the other side. So you're going to drop that back knee and tuck those back toes. When you feel like you're nicely grounded, nicely situated, you're going to inhale, reach your arms all the way up towards the sky. Exhale, option to stay here with your arms lifted, or if it feels more supportive, maybe you drop to your fingertips. A few more rounds of breath here wherever you're at. Can you really lean into that hip stretch here? Let yourself feel it. Again, you don't want this to be an overwhelming sensation of tension. You don't want to feel like it's too much, and you definitely don't want to feel pain. But you do want to feel just enough so that you're able to release it. Remember to breathe. And then if your arms are up, go ahead and inhale, come back to your fingertips. On an exhale, we're going to start to push your hips back just like we did on the other side. Try to straighten your left leg as much as you can. Point those left toes towards you. Maybe you let your head fall towards your knee, towards your leg. Hold here for a few rounds of breath. And then when you're ready, we're going to take that flow. So inhale, start to bring everything forward, pull your chest through your arms, maybe your gaze rises. Exhale, push it back. Inhale to bring you forward. Exhale, push it back. Let's take that 2 more times at your own pace. Move with your own breath. It may be a different pace than mine. And that's okay. Last one, wherever you're at here. And then when you're ready, go ahead and plant your hands. Bring that left foot back to meet your right. And then go ahead and take just a few more hip rocks side to side. Maybe it feels good to take some hip circles, or maybe you even want to take some cat-cows here. Inhaling, dropping your belly. Exhaling, rounding through your spine, bringing chin to chest. Just take whatever movement feels good, feels most natural here. We're going to take one last hip sequence. So when you are ready, we're going to move into what we call lizard. It's a nice big hip opener. So again, just be mindful of your body. Take what you need here. This may be a good time to grab your blocks or your books or a blanket or two. Just in case, I'll cue it if you want to use it. Go ahead and keep your hands nice and planted. Push the ground away from you. Keep that left knee planted. On an inhale, you're going to sweep that right leg up and back once more. Exhale, start to bring your knee to your chest. This time when you plant your foot, plant it on the outside of your right hand. And let yourself settle in here. So option here, you can keep those toes pointed straight ahead, or you can point them off to the side just a little bit to the right, and maybe let that right knee fall open. So again, be mindful of your knees. Just kind of notice what you need here. For me, I really enjoy taking just a few rocks side to side. Feels really nice. Kind of helps open up that right hip just a little bit more for me. And if you're really feeling that tension, this might loosen it just a little bit more. We're going to take stillness in a few breaths. So if it feels good to take some movement right now, I encourage you to do so. You can even, if you want to take a similar flow to what we did earlier, you can even maybe straighten through that leg and bend through that knee. You don't have to, just an option. Just kind of notice what you need here. And then when you're ready to settle into some stillness, You can either stay here. For me, it does not feel really supportive to stay up here. I feel like I'm putting a lot of weight on my arm, on my shoulders. So for me, I prefer, I'm gonna reach over here, grab my props. I prefer to have a block or two underneath. You don't have to have blocks. You can have books. You can stack some blankets, whatever works. I think I'm gonna use one block today. So for me, I really enjoy planting my forearms down. Pull it a little bit closer to me. You may have to maneuver, play around with it a little bit, see what works. Whew. And I think this is as far as I'm gonna go today. So just kind of notice what you need here as you settle in. And you want to, as much as you possibly can, I know you're holding your upper body up either way, but try to find some release in your upper body too. So for me, this feels the most comfortable for me because I feel like I can kind of let my arms go on this block, and I really enjoy letting the top of my head just fall so I can release my head, neck. Takes a little bit of tension out of my shoulders too. So again, just find your variation here. And we're gonna be here for about 5 or 6 more rounds of breath. So just notice how you feel. Oh, listen to your body. Your variation of this may look completely different than mine. And that's awesome if it does. Or it may look similar, and that's awesome too. Just kind of check in. What do you need? Doesn't matter what you look like. It only matters how it feels. You can try to release your jaw here. Try to release the space between your eyebrows. I know it's really easy to tense things up. Release that tension through your exhales, maybe even sigh it out. We're almost done with this side. Alrighty, if you want to stay here for longer, awesome, go ahead and do so. If you're ready to come out like me, go ahead and just start to slowly bring your upper body up, just kind of depending on what variation you took. Maybe you push your hips back. Maybe you find a little rocking side to side. Just ease yourself back into that tabletop. There's no rush here. That was a huge stretch on the hips. And depending on how much stress you're holding in your body, it may feel like a lot. So just give yourself some grace here, take your time. And then whenever you're ready, option to take a quick child's. If you feel like you need to take some pressure off your arms and your shoulders, you can push it back. Maybe take a couple breaths here. And if you need to pause the video, give yourself some more time. That's totally fine. If you're moving with me, we're going to move back into our tabletop and take it all to the other side. So I'm going to grab my block just so I have it handy. And then when you're ready, once again, ground through the bottoms of your hands or the palms of your hands. Ground through that right knee, that right leg. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. And exhale, pull your knee through, land your left foot on the outside of your left hand, and again, just kind of adjust, maneuver how you need to. I'm turning my toes out just a little bit. Feels a little bit nicer, gives a little bit more space in that left hip. And right away, I'm just kind of rocking side to side because that's what feels really good for me. So just kind of notice what you need here. Again, maybe you push your hips back, flex through that foot, and push your hips forward. Just take a few more rounds of movement before we settle into that stillness. Alrighty. So check in with yourself as you start to settle in here. I'm going to try the same variation that I took on the other side. And maybe you try the same thing. But maybe you notice that this side feels a little bit tighter, or it might feel a little bit more flexible than the other side. It's very common for both sides of our body to feel different, and that's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. So just kind of notice if there's a difference here. For me, it feels a little bit tighter on this side. So I'm just being a little bit more gentle in how I sink into this stillness here. And again, option to let your head, your neck just completely go, be nice and heavy. Try to loosen that space between your eyebrows, your jaw, even your shoulders. I know your arms and your shoulders are probably helping to hold you up here. But what ways can you find a little bit of ease in your upper body? Find some gentleness in your face, some ease in your upper body, and some release in that left hip, maybe even that right hip. Let's take about 4 or 5 more rounds of breath here, wherever you're at. Releasing that tension with each exhale. Maybe even sighing it out. You may find yourself naturally rocking side to side like I am. That's okay. Let your body do its thing here. If you are ready to come out of this, if you're not for whatever reason, that's awesome. You can pause the video and stay here. If you are like me and ready, let's go ahead and start to come all the way back up. We're all going to meet back in a tabletop. However you get there, take your time. You might want to take some extra stretches, some extra movement in between that transition. And let's take one last child's. If you want your knees together, that's an option. If you want them a little bit further apart, that's an option. I'm going to take my knees together because I think I've had enough of a hip stretch. And when you land in child's, if that's where you're meeting me, let's just take a few more rounds of breath together. When you're ready, let's go ahead and start to move back up into that tabletop. And then let's meet in a seat. So we're going to take one last shape, and we are actually going to close out with this shape. So go ahead and grab your bolster if you have one, or your blankets, your pillows, whatever you have here. So we're going to set up for one final shape, and you are welcome to stay here as long as you want to stay here. Like I said, we're going to close out with this shape. So I'm grabbing all my props. There's a couple ways you can do this. So I like to grab my bolster or whatever you have, your firm pillows, place it between my legs. So I'm going to bring my legs. You can either option to straighten them out to the side, or for me, I prefer to bend my knees, bring my feet in towards the bolster or towards the pillow. And then I like to stack everything. So the idea here is we're coming into a forward fold. So this forward fold will help us release any final tension, kind of bring your nervous system down just a little bit, help you come back to a place of calm. So you can fold over, and for me, like I said, this is how I prefer to do it, and it feels really, really nice. I like to have my forehead grounded, my arms, my hands are just gently resting on the tops of my feet or my legs, and this is where I'm going to land. I invite you to bring awareness to the space between your eyebrows. Maybe loosen that just a little bit more if you can. Maybe you move down into your jaw, loosening, unclenching. Maybe release your tongue away from the roof of your mouth. Down into your shoulders, your arms, your hands. Can you let it all be super heavy? Down into your sit bones, your hips, your legs, your feet. Can that part of your body be nice and grounded towards the earth? And I am going to wrap up my end of practice with you. Again, please stay here for longer if it just feels super nice. If you feel like you're on the verge of falling asleep, that is perfect. Or if you just feel like you can take a few more minutes to breathe. Just stay here as long as you can, need, want, and that's all I have for you today. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you were able to get something really beneficial out of this practice for yourself, and I will see you next time.